This video is best viewed in higher definition. To enable, click the Settings button at the bottom of the page, just here. Then click the drop-down box under Quality, and then select the highest definition offered, in this case 720 HD. Enjoy the video. In this video we're going to take a look at some of the basic general settings that, when applied and used in combination with the default inputs, will be enough to get you up and running. This will allow you to get the look and feel of the charts as you would like, and also ensure that the times loaded into DTFL Pro coincide with the broker times used on your charts. It is important to note that this is just to get you up and running. To fully understand and set up DTFL Pro, you really need to watch all the videos that describe the numerous inputs, and once you understand these, you can then set up DTFL Pro to your own individual trading style and preferences. Before going on to those general settings, I just want to take a couple of moments to talk about the chart you can see in front of you here, and to show the inputs I've used to set this up within MT4. So if you go up to Charts and Properties, it opens up these two tabs. You can see all the colours I've used on the chart here. If you want you to pause the video and make a note of them, that will help you set your chart up so it looks the same as mine does now. Under the Common tab, I've just got these four boxes ticked, and I've selected Candlesticks. The other thing I want to show you is under Charts and Indicators. You'll see I've just got one indicator on this chart, and that is B clock. It's a very, very useful indicator, and it actually is what you can see here. It's a countdown timer to show you how much time is left on the current candle. So this is a 15-minute chart, and these are 15-minute candles. What it's showing here is that there's 5 minutes 19 now left of this candle until that candle closes. So once you've got the chart set up as you would like it, if you go to Charts and Template and Save, if you type in Default and Save, it will save this chart and the look and feel of this chart as your default option. So when you open any chart within MT4, it'll always look like this. Something else I didn't know until quite recently is if you type in Tester and Save, then any back testing you do when you open charts in the back testing part of MT4, then again the same look and feel of that chart will appear. So again, to get the default for all your charts when you open them within the main part of MT4, you type default, and then to get the same looking charts within the back testing part of MT4, type tester, and you can see I've done it there and there. So I hope you found that helpful. Let's just get DTFL Pro onto the chart. As you can see here, it's under Expert Advisors. I can double click or pick it up and drag it onto the chart. What opens up initially is the default values, which I'm just going to accept for now. You'll then get your disclaimer, which you've got agreed to, and then DTFL Pro will appear on your chart. You've got the main screen here with all the buttons behind, and then you've got the session boxes. In this case, have actually been drawn immediately on the chart. Sometimes you might find there is a delay for the session boxes to be drawn, and that's because they're waiting for the next tick. You need a live market and the next tick to occur for these session boxes to be drawn on the chart. So if you put DTFL Pro onto the chart and the markets are closed, then you won't get the session boxes drawn, as they require a tick for them to be drawn. So this panel here, each of these buttons has got lots of different inputs behind, and there's a video on each of these buttons explaining what all the inputs do and how to use them. All the inputs behind these buttons can be changed by what's called on the fly, which means they can be changed without making the EA start a new operation. This is a relatively new feature, happened since build 600, I think. And so it allows for inputs to be changed without the EA having to start a new operation, which is very, very helpful. However, what we're going to be talking about today are the general inputs, and these need to be changed very, very infrequently. And so I haven't had them put here. You get access to them by the internal input screen. And to get access to that, if you go up to the smiley face in this top right hand corner and then left click on it just once, it opens up this box here which lists all the inputs for the EA. Now the majority of them coincide with the same ones behind these buttons, and you'll see they're done in set 1, set 2, set 3. So set 2 is the deactivation criteria. All these inputs here under set 2 coincide with all the inputs behind this button. Set 3 entry criteria, all the inputs here coincide with all the inputs behind the entry criteria button. The difference between whether you change them here or using these buttons behind the screens here is if you do them here, then a new operation will not start. However, any input you change here under this screen and then apply will start a new operation. So as you can see, this goes set 1, set 2 all the way down, goes right down to set number 10, which is session settings, and then we get onto the general settings, which are the main ones we're going to look at in this video. So as I said before, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pick out the main inputs that we can change under the general settings and a few others just to get you up and going. So the first one I'm going to look at changing is, if you look to set 7 under trade management ADR take profit exit, and you look down from set 7, go down 2, you're going to see set ADR hour, and in here we're going to put the time that your broker starts their trading week. So my broker is FQ Securities, and they are a GMT broker, and they start their trading week at 2200 on a Sunday. They actually do Sunday trading, so it starts at 2200. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click into this box here, type in 22, press the enter button, and that enters the start time for my broker, the ADR hour, as 22. If you were, as this was previously set up for, Alpara UK, which is a GMT +2 broker, then their start of their trading week started at midnight on a Sunday, or 000 on a Monday morning, whichever way you want to think about it. So what I used to put there was 0, because they started at midnight. If your broker starts at, let's say, 4 AM in the morning, you put number 4 there. There is a bit about this in the manual as well. So the ADR hour, I'm not going to explain what it does, but you just need to put the hour that your broker starts their trading week. In this case, for me, is 2200 hours on a Sunday is the start of the trading week. The next one we're going to look down to is set 8, which is here, trade manager exit by time, and then we're going to go down to management time 1, and the time we're going to put in here is 5 minutes before the start of the New York session. So for this broker, the New York session starts at 1300. So 5 minutes before there, I'm going to enter a time of 12:55. So that's 5 minutes before the New York session, which starts at 1300. So I'm going to put at 12:55 in there. And I'm going to look down here and find set exit all time, which is down here. So in this time here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put about an hour and a half before the close of the New York session. So the New York session closes at 2200 for this broker and on this chart. So I'm going to put 2030 in there. So again, double click into that area, overtype 20:30 and enter. So the next input I'm going to change is set 9 under trading times, and these are the trade windows. The times, if you go down, trade window 1, the start and end time. These are the times that I'm willing for a trade to be placed, the time that I'm willing for the EA to place a trade. Please note, a setup could occur before this time. These are the times that I'm willing for a trade to take place. For me, first time is at the start of the European session, which is 0700, enter, and my end time, I allow a trading window just over 4.5 hours. So that'll take it to 11:31. Don't worry about what I've put a 1 in there. I do explain when we talk about it in the detailed video on these criteria. But whatever time we're going to enter there, just add a 1 to it. So instead of 11:30 or 12:30 or whatever it was, just add 1 to make it 11:31. And you'll understand later when you look at the other video file. And press the enter button. So that's trade window 1. Trade window 2 is at the start of the New York session, which is 1300, 13. Oops. That's because I didn't click. Now see, I didn't click into the field there, so it jumped to the top of the screen. So let me go back down to where I was. So I started to do it there. So double click into there. So it's 1300 colon 00. This is the trade window 2. Start of the New York session, which is 1300, and I enter. The end time again, it's another 4.5 hour window, which is then 17. And again, I've got 31. Enter. I haven't got a trade window 3. Next thing we look at is set 10, session settings. So this is the Asian, European, and New York times. So on my broker, the Asian session starts at 2200 and it goes on to 06 in the morning. The European session starts at 0700, enter, and it ends at 1700 actually. This is the Frankfurt Open at 0700, and then the London close is 1700, and then the New York Times open time is, double click in there, 1300 colon 00, enter, and the New York goes, double click in the field. The close of New York is 2200, enter. So that's done all those ones. As you can see under here, if I just click on this one, at the moment it's dark grey. If I just double click on it and use that little drop down, it gives you a complete choice of colours. So I'm quite happy with dark grey, so I can keep that. And so if you want to change this one, you double click into linen, use the drop down box, and you can choose whichever one you want. You can see I've chosen that. Right, so the other thing on here is this session label color. This is actually the color of the range that is shown. Let me just move this to the side. You see this here, the range which is shown below each session. That's shown in the color you type here, so it's black. So if you didn't want to see this number, you didn't want to have the ranges shown on your chart, if you selected white here, so if you went to session label color, if you double clicked on that, made it white, and then if you did OK, then you wouldn't, it would be there, you just wouldn't be able to see it. But I don't want to do it, I do want to be able to see it. So just to give you, so we can see some of the changes, let's make it go out in red, and then into it. So when we load the site, you'll see this changes to red. So now we're going to go to the general settings, day open time. Now this is only ever used in back testing, and the time in here will be the time that your PP lines will be drawn on the chart on a daily basis. So if you're in a test of say 6 months, every single day your PP lines will automatically be drawn on the chart at 0930. But for me, the time that I want there is 0700, because when I do back tests, I want that to coincide with the start of the European session, which is the times when my trades can first be taken. So I haven't drawn on the chart from 0700, that's what I put there. So the next 3 inputs here are all to do with the PP lines and their colours. So navy, the set colour, this is when they're first put on the chart, they're navy. When they have been activated, either there's been a stop run, then they turn to green, the PP line will turn to green, And then finally, when they've been deactivated, for a number of different reasons they can be deactivated. Once they've been deactivated, they go red. So that's the different colours you can have. They're the ones I use. Obviously, you can change them to whatever you want. The next input is the PP line style. These are the different styles of lines you can have. You can have a solid line, you can have a dashed line, a dotted line, a dash dot line, or a dash dot line. Sorry, dash dot dot line. And you can select any of those and you can make them any color you want. But please remember, it's only this solid line that you can make thicker. There is another option coming out where you can make these lines thicker. It's only this line that you can make thicker. These ones will always appear at this thickness. You can change the colors, but they will always appear on this thickness. It's only this one that you can make thicker. So let's have a look at that. These are the options, remember. Solid, dash dot, and dash dot dot. They're the different options. So that is the options under PP line style. Then you've got PP line thickness. You can either put 1 to 5 in there. And the PP line thickness, if you put a 1 in, it's that thick, 2 is that thick, 3 is that thick, 4 is that thick, and 5 is that thick. So it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. I've swapped the colours around to show you can change the colours. So you've got quite a lot of flexibility here. So they're the thickness. And that is done by changing that from a number 1 to 5. 1 being the thinnest and 5 being the thickest. The next 3 inputs are for the colour of your stop run marker, your confirming candle marker, and your pullback colour marker. How I've got, this is how they look on the screen. So this is an example of a stop run. They're all little arrows, so they go below the candle where it was a stop. This was a stop, there was the PP line here. This was a stop run here. So the marker will appear just below the low of that candle, or if it was a lower PP line, it would be above the high. So that becomes red. Then the confirming candle, which is this candle here. In this case, because it's an upper PP line, the yellow candle would appear above it. If it was a lower PP line, it would appear below it. And this is a yellow arrow. And then entry has been taken here, as this candle has pulled back into the entry range or met the criteria that you've set. Then an entry has been placed here, and that's where, as soon as an entry is placed, then a little green arrow appears, and that is for a pullback candle marker. So that's what they look like, little arrows, but you can choose the colours. This panel here is what actually is displayed when you see when a trade is live. There's lots of extra information, the stop loss price, the take profit price, the target price for the ADR to take profits, the current price to your stop loss, current price to take profit, current price to the ADR, your pips profit, and your cash profit. So that's all there, and that's live updated when you've got a trade. So these are what the little markers look like, and these are the colours that you can choose them, and you choose the colours here. The next input is use ask buy order. The option is use the ask price for buy orders in relation to the functionality of DTFL Pro. Is what it's giving you the option to do if you tick true. I've not ticked it, so I'm not using ask price for buy orders. I'm using the bid price for buy orders. Let me just try and explain that for you. So this is the use ask buy order input, which we've just seen is shown as false. Let me just show you what's happened on this chart. Here's a PP line, and you've got a red candle which come down through the lower PP line, causing a stop run. The next candle has done nothing, hasn't confirmed back up. The next candle is confirmed back up. It's met the criteria for confirming candle. There you've got the confirming candle. Then the next candle is opened up. Initially, it's outside the entry range, which is from here, is 15 pips, because that's where you're willing to take an entry. And we've assumed in this instance you've got an absolute simple entry. There are 4 different types of entry, but this is just the simple entry. Price has come back to within our entry range. We're happy to take an entry at that point. So an entry would have been placed, therefore we've got a pullback candle. Now that, in this situation, because we're not using the ask price, we're using the bid price, that would occur. If we look at what we've got here, this is the bid price, and let's assume a spread of 2 pips, and the ask price would be 2 pips above it. As MT4 is drawing his candles on the chart, is drawing them based on the bid price. So this candle would be drawn down to there, and it would appear on the chart like this using the bid price. So that's how MT4 draws on the chart. We can't affect that. What we can do is instruct the logic of the EA to either look at the bid price or the ask price to carry out actions. So by telling it not to look at the ask price, so it says use ask buy order false, we're not looking at the ask price, it's telling us for buy orders to look for the bid price. So from a point of view of the chart, when it comes back to this point here, it's looking at the bid price, so an entry would be taken. If we put true here, it wouldn't use the bid price, it would use the ask price, and therefore as this candle is being drawn, as it got to there, it wouldn't place an order because the ask price hasn't yet reached the criteria you're instructing the EA to take a trade from, because you're telling it to use the ask price. I have made some notes down here. I'm not going to try and go into any great detail. If you're finding this confusing, pause the video, read this here, and it will probably help you. If you still don't understand it, my suggestion is just leave it as false. I'll just go over these notes. So if false is selected in a buy situation, this input is only applied for buy orders. It isn't applied for sell orders. So in a buy situation, the bid price, that's this price here, will be used for the EA for all its logic decisions. All its things that it has to decide, it will look at this price. And the benefits of that is that as MT4 charts also use bid prices for their charting, but when they're creating the candles, they also use bid prices. What you'll see on the chart coincides with what the EA's logic is. So you're both looking at the same price. Another benefit is that setups will look exactly the same for both sell orders and buy orders. Both types of trades will look exactly the same type of setup. So these are advantages for using false. Something you need to allow for in your trade plan, even though we're using bid price for all EA logic decisions, when the broker comes to place the potential buy order, they will always use the ask price. So you will need to allow for your spread, the difference between the two, in your trade plan. So there's lots of benefits for leaving this as false. Charting will look the same. Both sell and buy orders, the setups will look similar to each other, but you will have to allow for spread, i.e. the difference between bid and ask, when the order is actually placed, because brokers will use the ask price even though the EA is using the bid price for its calculations. So then I've just put a note here. If you select true, then in a buy, the ask price will be used by the EA for all its logic decisions. So that means if we're using the ask price, so we're putting true here, then even though it looks like the chart, it looks like it should have placed an order, it won't do because it'll be using the ask price. And so there may be times where what looks on the chart should have been a trade isn't, and it may well have been because it's the ask price being used. That's why, unless you really understand this, I suggest you just leave it at false. If you're a competent trader, you understand exactly what I'm saying here. You've got the option, if you want to change this to true, and then the EA's logic for buy orders, it will use the ask price, not the bid price. So in summary, if false is selected here, then for all logic decisions, the EA for buy orders only will use the bid price. If you select true here, for buy orders only, the EA will use the ask price for all logic decisions. That's the difference on this input. So here, the true or false. The next input, I suggest you leave exactly as it is now. Leave it as on and leave it at 4. What this does is when the EA is calculating where the recent high or low is, it will look from where it's looking to place an order back to the recent stop run to find the recent high or low. What this modifier does is it takes it back to the stop run and it adds in an additional 4 candles. So it'll look back under the hour before the stop run for a high or low. This is something I've only added quite recently, so it's best to be used all the time. So leave it at true, and for now leave it at 4 candles, which is the hour before the stop run. It will look for the high or low. The next one we're going to deal with is magic numbers. This is a safety feature, and it's really used for when you have DTFL Pro opened on more than one chart at a time. It stops any cross-fertilization between the two charts. It stops any possibility of that happening. So if you have, let's say, DTFL Pro open on this chart and Euro USD chart, then you'd have a unique number in here, in this case 763126. If then you had DTFL Pro opened on this chart, GB USD, then you'd have a different magic number. You go into the inputs and put a different magic number in there. Let's say your DTFL Pro opened on a Euro Yen chart, then what you do is you'd make sure again the magic number was different from both of these. So there's always a unique number in here, not the same as any other DTFL Pro you've got open on another chart. The next few inputs are in relation to file structure and reporting. So leave DTFL Pro, leave that as it is, leave activations levels as it is, report to file, leave that as true, and then what you'll find is if we go into the reporting functions of DTFL Pro, we'll find a file called report 1, and in there will be details of all these system events that occurred when you last run DTFL Pro. That will be included in that report. For output PP levels, yes, put true there, and then when we have a look, we'll find in the file structure a file called PP levels, and that will record all the PP levels you've used. So when you've typed them in and run back test, or when you've typed them in and done a live test, then they will be recorded so you can go back and see what levels you've used. The next three are alert functions. The first one alerts you if something happens on the chart. You get a sound that tells you there's been a stop run, or if there's been a confirming candle, there's been a pullback candle. If trade has been entered, quite a long list of them, you get a little noise that tells you they've occurred on the chart if you click true here. If you set up email notifications and you push true here, then you'll get an email notifying you of those same events. Push notifications, if you push true here and set it up, then your mobile will receive that same information. Take screenshots, leave this as true, and then what will happen then when any of these major events occur, a screenshot will be taken and saved within this file for you. So all this is to do with reporting, letting you know when you're away what's happening. Subsequently, when you return home, you can go and look things up, and it's all taking screenshots, etc. All very powerful features. I suggest just leave them as they are here. Then the last three is the data display background color. Remember I was showing this earlier, a little panel opened up here when there was a live trade. Well, the background color of that panel I've currently got as white. So it actually blends in with the background of my chart. So it looks like there isn't a panel there. In fact, there is. You see where it's disappeared, that line has disappeared. That's where the panel is there. And then when the live trade opens, another part of the panel opens up down here, and that will all be white as well. I've chosen to make it look like it's hidden by choosing white. You could choose light pink and have a little light pink box around there, and then when it opened up, there'd be a light pink box with all the numbers written in. So that's the background color of the data display box, and the text color is blue. I've chosen to have the actual numbers and the figures that appear in that box as blue. Again, you can change it to what you want. So these two functions here control the colors of what goes up in this box up here. The next one is retain objects on exit option. So when you remove DTFL Pro from the chart, you have got the option to leave on certain images. If I just move it out of the way, if you push 1, delete all, which I've got one there, then everything will disappear and the chart will go clear. All you'll see is just the price action. if you retain the session boxes, then the session boxes will be retained. So when you close DTFL Pro, the chart will appear with the price action, the candles, and the session boxes will still be displayed. Or if 3, you retain all, it'll be the session boxes and any of the arrows, the stop runs, stuff like that, that will all be retained as well. So that you can take DTFL Pro off the chart and still see all the information, scroll back and see what happens. So that's what that is there. 1 is delete all, 2 is retain just the session boxes, and 3 is retain all. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to save these. I'm going to push save, and it will come up, and I'm going to call this FQ, which is my broker. FQ broker general settings, and I'm going to put 2 because I've already done it once. I don't want to overtype these. But what you could put here is the name of your broker, and just that it's your general settings or it's your startup settings, so or your basic settings, something to remind you so you don't have to go and do this again. So it's going to set them up for you. Once you've done them, these are your basic settings. Let's just change it actually. Let's make that FQ broker basic settings. So I've set things up so the chart should look how I want. I've done some basic times, just enough just to get it going. I'm going to save that, and if I went to load, see now it's there. FQ, yeah, so let's cancel that. So I've saved it. So if I pressed OK now, those would apply. It'll start a new operation. It will apply all those new settings. So whenever you want to load this, you come into the chart. Remember when we loaded it up at the start? You'd now go to load. You'd load in your basic settings, and so like this, double click, loads it into that. It's got all the basic settings in there. And now if I press OK, it will apply all the things we've just said. There we go. So now it's waiting for a tick. There it's applied. Remember we changed that to red, didn't we? So there it's all come up. And there are your basic settings saved. Let's just go up there to show you them. So if I left click there, if I go up to load, there they are, the basic settings. Double click, OK. Waiting for the tick. Just waiting for the tick for session boxes to appear. There's a delay this time. That's good because I can show you it. It's quite slow now. Look. It's not going to tick. Still waiting. I'm glad this has happened because now it shows you sometimes there is quite a delay. The market is slow, and there it is. Just been a tick, and there you go. So hopefully that's been useful. The next videos you should be watching are all these individual videos about each input screen, and then you can go in and change your basic settings and get them more like what you want them to be, so you can start playing around with it properly and start taking some back testing and live testing based on how you want things set up and your risk profile and the type of trader you are, etc. So I hope that's been very useful for you.